Hey everybody, Rob Maurer here, and today should be a pretty quick one. We're going to be talking about a historic streak that Tesla is in the midst of, also some conversations that Tesla is having with other countries, some news on Tesla Energy, a SolarCity lawsuit, and more. Alright, so pretty volatile day in the markets overall today. The Nasdaq down 1.3% by the end of the day, Tesla up though 1.5%, so really strong outperformance, closing at $224.57 on the day. The volatility in the market seemed to be attributed a little bit at least to the widely unexpected decision to increase rates again in Canada after having been paused for quite some time now. So of course that increases some nerves about what might happen next week at the Fed meeting for US interest rates, but by the time we get there I think that will mostly be forgotten about because remember right before the meeting we have the US CPI and PPI reports, and those will probably be much bigger influences on what the US ends up doing. So anyway, despite the bad macro performance today, Tesla is continuing its historic run in terms of green days, positive finishes for the stock in a row. May 24th was actually the last trading day that Tesla was down. This was the day prior to the announcement about Ford adopting the North American charging standard. Since then, Tesla has now had 9 positive performances in a row. This is tied for the third longest positive streak for Tesla in its history. So as you can see, Tesla up 23% over those days, and we can see how that compares to some of the other long streaks in Tesla's history. Nice reminder there of how crazy 2020 was, with a 10-day streak up 66%, and then the longest in Tesla's history was an 11-day streak to wrap up 2020 and lead us into 2021. So we'll see if this continues, if Tesla can actually set a new record here. I know we're in the midst of it, and you don't talk about the streak during the streak, but hey, we talked about it during those as well, so they worked out just fine. We'll see if this one does, but if not, if we're down tomorrow, feel free to come back and file your complaints directly in the YouTube comments. One other thing that is kind of interesting here, if you look at all of these date ranges, they all seem to include or shortly follow delivery reports, while this one does not. However, obviously, we did have that Ford announcement. Stuff like this doesn't really seem to happen in the absence of some sort of major news, so I think that Ford announcement really having an impact in this run. Alright, next up we've got a couple of reports on Tesla conversations with other countries. First, from the Prime Minister of Mongolia yesterday tweeting, quote, "A productive and insightful discussion with Elon Musk today exploring opportunities for mutual collaboration. We discussed potential partnerships, including securing internships for talented Mongolian engineers at Tesla. We discussed the possibility of welcoming Tesla to Mongolia and the potential use of copper and rare earth elements in electric vehicle and battery production for industrial scale mining. We committed to further discuss cooperation on the development of green technologies, education, investment in our country, and the use of electric vehicles. Our new recovery policy sets Mongolia on a path to prosperity as we work closely with the private sector." End quote. Elon Musk also replying, saying it was an honor to speak with you. So Mongolia, not a country that comes up very often in the Tesla discussions. Kind of cool to see that. Mongolia's biggest export is copper. They do about $3 billion annually of that. So that would be my best guess as to the impetus of the conversation, but obviously rare earth metals mentioned there, talent in Mongolia mentioned there as well. So we'll see if anything comes of it, but it sounds like it was a productive conversation. We've also got more reporting on Tesla's conversations with India. This is again coming from Financial Express. We have mentioned their reporting previously. They say that Tesla has, in principle, agreed to the suggestion put forward by India that apart from assembling its electric vehicles in the country, it also sets up a vendor base there. They say that the government has said that Tesla can begin with domestic assembly of cars and follow that up later by setting up the vendor base, but that, quote, "indications are that Tesla may not delay the setting up of the domestic vendor base much as it does not believe in decoupling manufacturing and supply chain," end quote. So it's not exactly clear to me what is new in this report. Again, as we had previously talked about, the report that the government would be willing to allow Tesla to have some time to set that vendor base up had already been made, and they're still reporting here that the company is expected to submit that proposal in the next 3 to 6 months. So it sounds like all they're really reporting here that might be new is that Tesla's agreed that they should set up a vendor base in India, but that would be contingent, of course, on other plans moving forward. But as the report says itself, that's not surprising because of how Tesla approaches manufacturing. So this is getting a lot of coverage because the report says that Tesla and India agreed to something, but I don't think there's anything really all that new here or even all that meaningful in this report. Moving on from that, we've got another update on Tesla Energy today. This is coming from Aneco. They have announced that they will be building a 200 megawatt hour project, energy storage project in Belgium. They say the permit has been obtained, the battery ordered, and the preparatory study works are underway to have the project operational by the end of 2024. They say this 200 megawatt project will be using 53 megapacks from Tesla. So what would have once been a huge announcement for Tesla Energy these days is becoming commonplace. This is a relatively small order now for Tesla at the size that they are producing at. Just a handful of days of production for this entire project, and that is at today's production rates, which are growing very quickly. So very exciting to see this, but more importantly, exciting to reflect on the fact that this really isn't all that meaningful anymore to the scale that Tesla Energy is approaching. And that is very exciting. All right, next we've got an updated ruling on a lawsuit against Elon Musk regarding the acquisition of SolarCity many years ago. The Delaware Supreme Court has upheld a previous ruling that found that Elon Musk did not push Tesla to overpay in the SolarCity acquisition. They say, quote, "The trial court's opinion is replete with factual findings and credibility determinations, and those determinations have not been challenged and decidedly weigh in favor of Musk," end quote. So as with any company of Tesla's size, kind of hard to keep track of all the lawsuits out there, but I think that'll wrap this one up. The court's opinion in this ruling was unanimous. All right, last couple of things here. We've got a news story on Waymo that's kind of going around. Unfortunately, a report that a Waymo vehicle struck and killed a dog that ran out into traffic. Obviously, never want to hear stories like that. This occurred in San Francisco back on May 21st. Waymo confirmed this to local news in San Francisco. The vehicle did have a safety driver in the front seat at the time, and according to Waymo, it did actually identify the dog, but that was the result nonetheless. So with the vehicle identifying it with also having a safety driver, although that doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot all the time, may not have been much that could have been done to avoid this, and it brings to light just a reality of autonomous vehicles. Sometimes things like this are going to happen. This and probably much worse will happen with Tesla too, but hopefully the overall safety is much higher. So unless there are a lot more contextual details out there that I'm not aware of, hopefully no throwing stones at Waymo on this one. All right, last item for today then. Volvo has unveiled their next EV effort. It is going to be called the EX30, and this is Volvo's smallest SUV ever. At about 167 inches long, this is more than 20 inches or 50 centimeters shorter than the Model Y. So Volvo says that this is going to start at just under $35,000, which would be a pretty nice price for a vehicle, which it says will have a range of up to 275 miles. We don't know exactly what that would be if that's the base configuration. More often than not, that doesn't end up being the case, but it does only list one battery capacity of 69 kilowatt hours. For acceleration, this one undoubtedly wouldn't be the base vehicle, but they say that it will be as fast as 3.4 seconds, 0 to 60. It is still a ways out from production. Apparently that's going to happen sometime later in 2024, and production will at least start in China. So not sure what prices in China will be like, but at that price it might be a little bit tough for it to compete, especially, we'll see what Tesla does by that point in time, but probably not something that's going to be super high volume. All right, that is where we'll wrap it up for today. So as always, thank you for listening. Make sure you're subscribed and signed up for notifications. You can also find me on Twitter at Tesla Podcast, and we'll see you tomorrow for the Thursday, June 8th episode of Tesla Daily. Thank you.